Today in Draw My Life, the last episode of Invader Zim. Invader Zim is the cartoon about an absent-minded alien and his unsuccessful attempts to conquer and destroy the planet. Today, I'm going to tell you all about the final doom. The on-air episode planned to be the last of the show. The episode begins inside Zim's house. On one side, there's Gur, the alien's robot assistant, with a taco in front of him. Zim is staring at him from across the room for a rather long time. After a few minutes, Zim walks over to Gur and slaps the taco away, yelling at him that he no longer wants to see human food in the house. Gur's costume disappears and he stares at the taco on the floor. His eyes turn red. He rolls over and gives Zim a hard punch and walks out of the house. Outside the house is Dip, sitting on the floor with his hands over his eyes, crying. Then Gur shows up behind him and says something to him. Dip stops crying, takes his hands off his face and lifts his head. But instead of his eyes, you see two black circles. Dip falls to the ground in horror, and Gur's expression doesn't seem to change. The next scene begins with Professor Membrane in his laboratory. Gur enters, breaking through the ceiling and carrying Dip's bloody body with his guts hanging out of his stomach. The professor looks at Gur unsurprised and says, "Well, at least it wasn't gas." Gur shouts and the episode becomes even more violent. He turns to the professor and with his hands starts attacking him. The scene ends with the professor's body on the ground, blood pouring from his head, making a puddle around him. His arms are torn from his body and his chest is ripped open. Dip's corpse is next to him and Gur is covered in blood. Gur enters Gas's room and she asks him, "What are you doing here?" Gur looks at her. His arm turns into a chainsaw and he lets out a wicked laugh. Gas's resilient attitude fades. Her face fills with fear as she sees Gur's personality change. In one motion, Gur cuts the girl's neck with a saw. We hear the sound of Gas gasping for breath, but then it changes to a gurgling sound. Blood splashes from her neck and falls on Gur, staining her entire body. Gur's whole figure is shown dripping blood. The screen fades to black for a few seconds and then Zim is seen in his living room. Suddenly, Gur enters and Zim is startled to see him covered in blood. Zim asks him why he looks like that and the robot, with a sinister smile, replies that he used to eat human food, but now humans are his food. Gur mistook Zim for a human being. With a sinister smile, his arm transforms back into a saw. The episode ends with Zim desperately screaming and the sound of the saw and blood splatter on the screen. The stories of the lost episodes are always so interesting, right? Remember to like this video and subscribe. See you in the next one.